I call the meeting to order for Tuesday, April 10th. This is the regular Board of Selectmen meeting at 7 p.m. I would make it known to all that we are being broadcast live through the Whitman-Hanson Cable Access channel. Call to order first is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd ask for everybody to stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just a quick recap. We'll do public announcements in upcoming meetings. We'll move to executive session to all our audience members out there, so when your screen goes blank, it's not a power failure, I promise you. We'll move to executive session, and then when we come out, we'll resume into our normal meeting, and depending on how the session goes, we'll make the announcement as to what occurred. So, okay, with that, moving on. There will be a special...
Sorry,
that's okay. There will be a special voter registration session on Tuesday, April 17th, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Town Hall. This will be the last day to register to vote on the May 7th annual town meeting and the May 19th town election. Citizens may register to vote at the town clerk's office during regular business hours, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Tuesday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., or by mail-in registration. Any resident who will be 18 years of age by May 7th is eligible to register to vote by April 17th. The annual Green Up Cleanup Day, sponsored by Green Hanson, will take place on Saturday, April 21st, from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Volunteers are requested to meet at the Hanson Town Hall at 8:45 a.m. Mike, did we take your T-shirts? Did we contact them?
Yeah, it's all set.
All right, that's great. Dollars for Scholars will be sponsoring a cut-a-thon on Sunday, April 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at John Russell Studio Salon and Day Spa at 587 Washington Street in Whitman. Wet cuts only. Women's cuts are $25, men's cuts are $15, and children under 10 are $15. Manicures are also available for $10. Walk-ins welcome, but appointments can be made by calling 781-447-1100. The Hanson Public Library Foundation will be hosting the second annual Jazz in the Library for adults 21 and older on Friday, February 27th, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Live music will be provided by Boxwood Saxophone Quartet, free light refreshments, and a cash bar. Pre-registration is required by going to the hansonlibrary.org and sign up under the Calendar of Event tab, or call the library at 781-293-2151. The Historical Society will be holding its annual turkey dinner on Thursday, May 3rd, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Camp Kewanee. The featured speaker will be Judith Calaora, is that pronounced right?
Close enough.
Okay, portraying World War women, the unsung heroines of World War II. Tickets are $15. For tickets, call 781-294-8645. Volunteers are needed on the following committees: the 200th anniversary, Agricultural, Capital Improvement, Community Preservation Commission, Disabilities, Elder Affairs, Energy, Finance, Memorial Day Patriot Observance, Nathaniel Thomas Mill Committees, and Recreation Commission. Applications for appointment and information on the committee is available on the town website at www.hanson-ma.gov. Upcoming meetings. The school committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, April 11th at 7 p.m. There is the Historical Commission will also be held Wednesday, April 11th at 7 p.m. Nathaniel Thomas Mill, Thursday, April 12th at 7 p.m. Selectmen's meeting will be held Tuesday, April 17th and Tuesday, May 1st at 7 p.m. The Finance Commission will be holding their meeting on Tuesday, April 17th at 7 p.m. Open Space will be held Monday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. And finally, the 200th anniversary will be held the 200th anniversary committee will be held Thursday, April 26th at 7 p.m. And that concludes our upcoming meetings and public announcements. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to move to executive session, and I'd like to read it. To conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, police chief contract. I would
So move.
Second.
moved and seconded. I call roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we're now in executive session, and once we come out, we'll make an announcement, provided how that goes. We're back on. So we are now, we have adjourned from executive session, and we are now at regular meeting. It's my job to discuss with the folks out there on what was done on the executive session. So we had a discussion on the police chief contract. We spoke to the chief on his accomplishments. We spoke to him on various things in terms of also of his background. He has a master's in criminal justice. He's gone to the FBI Academy. He has asked us to review his contract. His request was to extend to 5 years, which would make it to June 30th, 2024. And he has also asked for an increased salary to $140,000, which is comparable to the other towns of our size. Actually, it's still kind of low from what we saw. So we feel that he's done an excellent job. We also got information on Mr. McHugh's position on our chief and how he's doing. That's right, we shut those off.
Thanks.
So, to make it clear, so we've extended Mike's contract. The vote was 5-0. We will also call a vote now in open meeting session to solidify what we've done in executive session. And again, the contract will remain the same with the exception of any dates to the 5-year extension, and of course, the salary increase to $140,000. So I would ask for a vote. All those in favor of those?
Motion.
Excuse me, I apologize. I'm looking for a motion to accept those items that I just read in terms of the chief's contract changes.
So moved. Second.
Those, by the way, those were the only changes that occurred. Everything else remains the same.
Can we, just a little discussion?
Sure.
So based on competitive analysis of salaries, based on Mike McHugh's representation of Chief Mix's performance, and based on Chief Mix's accomplishments, and the fact that we want to depoliticize these types of positions and secure good personnel, we voted in the affirmative.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I'd ask, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0. Congratulations, Chief Mix. Doing a great job. We have with us a hearing, and I apologize, gentlemen, that we went into extended time, okay? Usually we take better notice of that, so. I have to read the hearing notice. As an abutter, you are hereby notified that the Hanson Board of Selectmen will be holding a hearing for a soil removal permit at the request of William Dyer and Gerald R. Colstring, is that pronounced right? Of 167 Center Street, Plimpton, Mass. On Tuesday, April 10th. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be at 7:30, but we are now at 8:02 in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at the Hanson Town Hall, 542 Liberty Street, Hanson, Mass. Said soil to be removed from 84 Liberty Street and shown as the Assessor's Map 91, Lot 12-1. This is the Hanson Board of Selectmen. You guys should see in front of you, item 2 on your iPads.
We should have a motion to open the hearing.
A motion to open the hearing, I would
So
entertain.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Made and seconded.
Whatever.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion made and said to open meeting. Okay, so on item 2, we should have a application for soil removal permit. This is right across from the opening up at, across from the middle school, right, gentlemen?
Yes.
Right, okay. And looking to remove, they say, minor site improvement. The frontage is 150 Liberty Street, soil to just remove soil. Can you give us a brief description, how many truckloads, what do you think?
We're projecting about 2,000 yards, okay? I think when
well, for a fact, is when they built the medical center, the Smith family owned the medical center and the property that we had bought.
Yeah.
Opposed to trucking all the material out at that time, they just put the bulldozer down and they shoved it onto the lot that they owned.
Okay.
Okay, as you can see at the medical center, it's designed as a walkout. Okay, it goes way down. And so the soil, the excess soil that they removed, they just put onto the site that they owned.
I see.
Okay, instead of, so we purchased the property. It's probably about double the soil that if you went into a typical lot, okay? Meaning like the subgrade, okay? So you ended up with well over 2,000 yards of excess on top of what we're doing. Our design brought us down to, the way we designed it, down to a subgrade. In order to achieve that, we need to remove the excess soil first and then our excess soil to get down to our buildable, our bearing grade to come back up. So opposed to going, I think, believe in the bylaws, we're still in the design stage, what we want to do with the building, but opposed to spending the money and getting a full design to get a permit to build, we need to actually get the soil off the lot, okay? So it's almost like we'd be spending double money if we got a different client in there, and it's just foolish for us to spend, money and turn around and spend it again.
So you don't have like specific plans for what you're going to do with that property right now?
We have a footprint of the building
Oh,
that's been
okay.
approved by the zoning
Okay.
board, okay? We've been approved by the conservation and everything. Our problem is, in your bylaws is telling us that we need a building permit, okay? So we're opposed to
Right.
getting it, we're in the design stage, we got couple of different clients, okay? Everybody's looking for something different, okay? So opposed to us is going out to our engineers, sitting back with our architect, they're going, this is what we want to do. We're gonna spend a large amount of money with that. And if we go to client B, if that falls apart, he's gonna want something. So we're gonna go, in essence, spend the same money twice.
So you gotta be,
Okay.
you need to be, try to be
We're
flexible.
being proactive
Yep.
on our account.
Yep.
So in order to do that, we read through the bylaws and we found that we could come and get a gravel removal permit, I guess, I believe that's what you
Yeah.
call it. So it just enhances, we're kind of trapped right at the moment. You drive by it every day, you see what we've got kicked up there. Yeah, it's not a very saleable thing, okay? People drive by and they'll, are you kidding me? I wouldn't come there either. It looks like somebody's sandbox.
Don's got something.
Tony?
No, just a couple of questions. You know that little stone wall is in front,
Yes,
parallel on 58, and there's a hydrant in there. I assume that hydrant's in the way, and that has to be moved.
that's
Is
relocated.
the entrance and exit gonna be on that same side?
Yes, there's a double exit.
So you're gonna keep that wall?
Yeah, but, yeah, portion.
That's roughly the grade, roughly, that you're gonna dig down to?
Yes, what you see coming in right now, with that we gotta cut out to a subgrade.
Right.
It all actually sheds back.
Right.
And not diving, but gradual.
I'd like to make a motion to let them remove the gravel.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Second, sorry.
Discussion.
Yeah, discussion. Totally want to grant this as well. One thing that Mike and I, when we talked to town council about our, as you guys all know, we've had issues, not with you guys, but other people, on soil removal and compliance. And one of the things that Jay Talaman and Kate suggested was that as part of granting the soil removal, we should be requiring that that an engineer go out and verify the compliance, because it's pretty specific criteria that has to be met, which is, although it's our intention to delegate to Bob to be our enforcement officer, it's something that I don't even think Bob would necessarily be, the person to do, because it's securing the grading, it's basically making sure that all of the conditions, if this was like a conservation matter, they'd be issuing an order of conditions, which is essentially what our bylaw is, which is like, if we grant it, you've got to follow all of these different conditions about the operation and the restoration standards and all that stuff. And so we need to have some way of making sure that that's complied with.
But I
And
thought,
so Jay said that what usually happens is when you grant the soil removal permit, you send a letter saying, we're granting it, you have to comply with all of these things, and we need something from an engineer saying that you've complied with all of these requirements. Otherwise, we've got no teeth. We've never had any teeth, which is the reason why we got in the issue that we got in with the Rosewood people in compliance with the soil removal down there.
well,
I
the
think
issue
we
with.
should- we should-
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I think we should defer this to Bob and see what he says. I can't see making the resident spend additional money just to move dirt.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, there's a bond requirement on this, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Right, so,
Yeah.
so we do have some teeth, right?
If I may, again, if anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Bob Curran, I'm the building commissioner. This project is permitted. They've been to the zoning board of appeals and they have an approved building. But because of the commotion that was going on this site, as everybody knows, there was some dirt moved around while they were trying to plan what they were gonna do. Took a little bit while to get, time to get through to the Board of Appeals, and then the Board of Appeals kind of had several hearings regarding the approval, so finally they've got it. But by then, it had already upset a lot of the residents in the town, and so I had sent a letter to the owner saying that if you're gonna take any dirt out of there before you have a permit, you need to go to the Board of Selectmen and get an earth removal permit.
Right.
It is my opinion that this board should waive all the rest of the requirements of this and let him take the dirt out of there, whereas it's already been approved through a special permit and a variance by the zoning board of appeals. So in a sense, the project is approved and it is permitted, but there's no building permit. Because of the commotion, or it was irritating a lot of the people in the town. Because of that, I made them agree to this. And then when they said they would like to get it out of there because they still don't have a building permit or design of a building, then I thought that this was appropriate. So I would hope that this board would consider waiving all the requirements, allow them to do it, give them a certain amount of time. But once they have a building permit, they're gonna have to excavate for the foundation. So as simple as I can say it is that this is dirt that was left over from the medical building. It was pushed over to this site. Now it's just overcrowding the lot. Once they get rid of what would be a normal grade, then they're gonna permit as required, and they'll remove whatever dirt they will, any fill that they need. I think this one's kind of a simple one. and I
But you're
think
not
the-
talking about waiving like the bond requirement. or
I think
anything,
you
are
could waive the bond requirement. There's no bond requirements if this was a permitted project.
Yeah.
No, just listen to me for a second, because if somebody's gonna put a septic system in and they have to remove and replace, they're gonna take out, they're not gonna be in front of this board. We're gonna waive the requirements. I think if it's a permitted project, that the Board of Selectmen don't need to even hear about it.
How many acres is it, can I ask?
1.8.
So
It's like
in other words, if you put a
1,500
septic
bucks.
system in your backyard and they have to remove because of unsuitable soil, are you gonna have to go to the Board of Selectmen for a permit for that?
No, that's not what the soil removal bylaw is about.
Well, this
That's
is-
not the way that it reads, and town council agreed that it does not apply to private septics. This is about
Does it- Does it
operation.
apply to single-family homes?
No, it does not apply to single-family homes. It specifically, the regulation specifically says that it's for essentially a industrial kind of a,
I think it's for a gravel pit,
Application.
is really what this is for. This isn't a gravel pit. They've got excess soil there that they need to get rid of to facilitate construction of a commercial building. They're not gonna profit from it. This is something that they've gotta get rid of just to move forward.
Was there a restoration plan to it, do you guys know?
The restoration is in the plan of, the approved plan from the zoning board. Did you take a look at this project, and I believe that,
They've had-
okay, if I came in without asking for this, I have every right to take the soil off the front. Okay, it's a approved building without the permit,
I understand.
okay?
I'm asking for the public's knowledge.
Okay,
I
that's-
understand.
The Board of Appeals required a reviewing engineer, consulting engineer, to review the drainage calculations for the finished product. So all of this stuff has already been approved through zoning board and through the consulting engineer. So I think if we just let them take stuff out of there until they have a satisfactory building
Yeah,
or design, and they have a foundation plan, I was willing to issue them a foundation plan that would allow them to take off this soil to get rid of it and start the foundation, but they're not certain that the building that was approved is exactly what's gonna happen.
I'm okay with issuing it without the restoration standards based on what you said, but the operation standards are just things that
I think
are
if-
just good practices. I mean, that, you know, they're not gonna dump stuff on private roads, that,
Right.
you know, public roads rather, that they're gonna operate decent hours, that they're gonna cover their trucks. I think that we still need to have the operation standards, which
And
I
I don't
expect,
disagree.
you know.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but a lot of that is standards that follow
Yeah.
trucking. And, yeah, so
Those are all part of the bylaw. I'm
I don't
looking
think
at
a bond is
Yeah.
required. I think that normal construction practices would be suitable here. And I do agree, Laura, I do agree with you that if you look at this bylaw as it relates, but there's also a section that allows the Board of Selectmen to waive any of the requirements. And I think.
It does, it's under section 1D, it says applicants for removal permit related to construction, alteration, or removal of an approved building may be exempt from the requirements of a public hearing, a log of soil borings, and such other operational and restorational standards deemed not applicable by the Board of Selectmen. So basically, I think you'd have to come and ask the Board of Selectmen not to do an earth removal bylaw. Here, that's what you're saying.
But, so I think what we're moving is to grant them the soil removal permit, subject to operational standards, but to waive the restoration standards. That's the way I'm reading
I
this.
think, Laura, I think that's fine. I think that they'll agree to that, but I also agree that we have to be careful what we say requires an earth removal permit, only because there's a lot of construction going on, there's a lot of single-family homes, there's condos being done, they don't have earth removal permit.
Because they're pulling a building permit. Once the
Right.
building permit
Okay,
is
so you
pulled-
agree that once the building permit is out there, then,
And that's what town council said.
Okay.
Once it's
And-
locked down, that there's a building permit in place, then you've got a specific plan about what's gonna be done. In the absence of a building permit, what you run the risk of, and I'm certainly not suggesting you gentlemen are doing this, is that somebody's gonna use that land in a way that's gonna strip it and leave the town looking at some kind of vacant hole, you know, big hole, whatever, and we'll have no control over it. That's what the soil removal stuff is all about. So,
so if you want to do whatever it takes to protect this town, then I don't disagree with that. But I think this is closer to any normal construction project is anything we have going on. We have Stonebridge going on, we have Liberty Circle. They've got a lot more dirt being moved around than that's going to happen on this site. And they're, you know, I think the intent here is that they're going to just have a normal construction site.
okay, so did we make a motion or did I?
Motion's been made,
All right,
we're in
all right.
discussion.
Okay, so may I amend the motion that it's, so that it's more responsive to what Bob is saying and these guys aren't being hamstrung by the restoration
Can I say something
standards?
first?
Wants to say something.
We, you know, with this board just appointed Bob, you know, we just gave him an enforcement officer to oversee all this stuff 2 weeks ago. So he's in front of us now, giving us his expert recommendation, and here we are, not even half listening to the guy. It doesn't make sense. Why did we appoint him as the enforcement, as the dirt police, and now here we are second guessing the first time he comes to us?
I'm not second guessing him, Kenny, I'm sure that that may be the way that it's coming across,
We
but
have
I had an
enforcement
hour
to go over.
conversation
If
with our
that-
legal counsel about this, an hour conversation. And we went through all of the, and what I'm hearing Bob say is different than what I heard our legal counsel tell us is how it should operate. So I'm just going by our legal counsel, and it's no disrespect to you at all, Bob. I'm just hearing a different.
Yeah, and I
you know,
understand.
At the time, I will admit, I don't think that the whole ZBA thing had been locked down, or at least we weren't aware that it had been.
So this is a permanent project through the zoning board of appeals. It does not have a building permit. I suggested that they even file for a foundation permit, which would allow them to do the site work. I don't want to force them into pulling a permit for something they're not going to build. They've been approved for a certain footprint, and that's subject to change right now because they've got maybe a potential buyer for the property. But I think that the project, even if it does change, the Board of Appeals will oversee it and make sure that the drainage is done right, and the elevation is exactly what's appropriate for that site.
I drive by the property all the time. When I'm in Hanson, he can't do anything with that material there. What is he gonna do?
They're spinning their wheels right now. They have too much dirt for the site. They can't flatten anything out. They can't start any drainage systems. They can't do anything with it there. It's just in their own way. I think they're fine just to treat it as a normal construction project and consider that it's permitted for this discussion because the Board of Appeals has approved it. And if there's any alterations that I think the Board of Selectmen need to know about, I'll bring it to your attention.
Okay.
That's perfect for me. Thank you.
So, ma'am, could you state your name, please?
Patricia Dias, I'm on a butter, and these gentlemen might be able to help me. I'm concerned about what the transition will be from my property to the property that's being excavated right now, right behind them, behind the medical center, all the way back to the medical center. And it is wetlands back there, I can't even use it myself to build on. So my concern is what the transition's gonna look like from my property to theirs. Is it gonna be a cliff? Is it gonna be a retaining wall? Is it going to be a grassy slope? And where is the water going?
So the map that I'm looking at says bordering vegetated wetlands as delineated by Kenneth Thompson, right? So, are you guys, so you're bordering it, but I don't think
As-
the plans that I'm looking at don't seem to be near there.
As you stand on the street, on 58, looking straight back with the medical center to your left.
Yeah.
It goes back, what, 800 feet or something?
Yeah.
About 400 feet back, the wetlands come in from the right-hand side,
That
and
abut from your property.
and about 150 feet back from your lot line is where the water, the easement is for the Rockland Abington Waterworks.
Right.
So we're gonna be about 50 or 75 feet in front of that line.
Okay.
And the only thing back there, there'll be a nice transition from the street all the way back to where the wetlands are for a retention pond for the buildable footprint up front, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
It'll
we
be
could,
nice,
if
there'll
you'd
be
like
no
to, we'll
big
take you
holes.
for a walk out there and just show you what, it does stay all natural out there, you know,
Right.
it's all wet.
Right.
So they're allowing us to build a detention pond, okay, out in the back, and from the parking lot, there's probably 300 feet back from the water line itself, the walking trail, I guess we call it, up there.
Okay.
So it does stay pretty much the way it is out there, it's all wet, swampy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, so I don't think there's any big changes, but feel free to take it for a walk and show you what's going on.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you
All
said
right.
your name was Mrs. Diaz, right?
Pat Dias.
Diaz, I apologize. Yep, and here it is. If you guys look at the map, you'll see her property line, what she's talking about. It says the lot right on there, okay? Thank you.
Yeah, and your
guys.
property runs out to Route 58.
Yep,
It runs,
Because all the water runs that way too.
right, I
It
know,
all runs to the North River.
right.
okay. Is there anything else on this? So are we asking for no bond? Are we saying for no bond? It's only like $1,500. And of course, after he does everything, he gets it back. Is that correct?
I think that it's up to this board. My recommendation would be to not require a bond.
No bond and no restoration standards is what we said. Which is because Bob said that ZBA will be looking at that
I
anyway.
am also the zoning
Yeah.
enforcement officer,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's my job to be certain that to be sure that they meet the requirements.
Well, I think it behooves us to do what's on the plan, which we will, okay? And I guess, this is what I do for a living, I'm not gonna labor like a train wreck, I would never do that.
That's what we're concerned with.
Oh, no, I think it's a good concern coming from Ms. Diaz there about what's going on out back, and feel free to, we're gonna give you
Map.
what's on that plan, we're gonna give you what's on that plan. I don't believe it should be a bondable thing, because if we're gonna spend the $1,500, I'll go get my architect to draw me a foundation plan, submit it
Get
to
a building
Paul,
permit.
and come back and get the permit, we wouldn't have this
And
discussion.
we want to encourage you.
Oh, no,
We
no,
do
no,
want to
we're
encourage you.
trying,
We just have
we're
these
trying.
regulations, so,
You know?
yeah.
I thank you for everything, but we're just trying to get going so we can get
Yeah.
going.
I think we all want to see that.
Yeah,
move
no,
forward.
it
Yeah.
looks like a big sandbox gone bad, so.
So Mary, do we need to amend the motion?
So right now, the original motion was by Dawn, second by Jim Hickey, to approve the request for gravel removal permit. And then
So
we had
we
the
have to
discussion, and then Laura wanted to amend it, so I put in subject to the operational standards and waive the requirement for a bond or restoration standards. Is that okay?
Because the way they originally moved it, it was the full Monty. You know, this is whittled down.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. So I'd just like to get that motion made and seconded, if we could.
That's how it was made.
The alter?
Yeah, I added it in as Laura had asked the
All right,
question.
so we don't need to motion
No,
it
I
or
think we're
second
all right.
it? All right, good. Any further questions? Let's call to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Good luck, gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thanks.
your patience with us.
Motion to close the hearing?
Oh,
So moved.
Motion
Second.
made and seconded to close this hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 on closing the hearing. Next, we have on our agenda is vote to accept and vote donations. So Mike has asked me to take some things out of line until he gets back as best he can. Again, he's meeting with FinCom. Yeah, so we're gonna move to item 5 on our agenda. We'll make this quick, Bob, I promise, okay? So, Mary, I think it's okay for me to read the donations and gifts, the donors here,
Yes.
right? Okay. So we have a number of gifts. We have, I'm gonna read the date and the donor and the amount and the purpose. So we have on January 30th, 2018, from Paula Smith, in the amount of $200 to Elder Affairs. We have another gift on 1/30/2018 from Barbara Cremai, is that how you pronounce it?
Cremie?
And Leanne Fallon for $100 to Elder Affairs. On 1/31/2018, Kathleen Wormsley for $100 to the library. 2/21/2018, from Mutual Bank, $347. This is to the library in memory of Nancy Capolini Foundation.
That's nice.
Yes. 3/21/2018, Catherine Stevens for an amount of $25, Elder Affairs. And we also have, finally, March 22nd, Kathleen and Hubert Monahan at $50 to the library. So I would entertain a motion to accept these donations with gratitude.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And thank you to those folks who've made those donations. Next, we have on our agenda, and I'm looking who we have in the audience. All right, we're good. We have the town-owned stormwater easements, Bob Brown. So Bob, I want to let you know that I had spoken to an individual, a homeowner, and they have a town-owned easement. And it's on Katydid Lane, and looks to me that the water comes in and goes into the storm drain and goes out to where the Smitty's Bog is supposed to be. And unfortunately, it looks like that the drain pipe only goes maybe roughly, I'd say somewhere between maybe 50 to 75 feet into the property.
It's in your
For the rest of maybe 100 yards, I'd say. It's just like a culvert. It's all overgrown and stuff, you know what I mean? So I don't know, but I wanted to bring this to the attention. I wanted to ask, because I know money's tight and all that stuff, Bob, but I wanted to talk about this and bring awareness to the town on stormwater management or town-owned easements. And do we have any kind of formal plan on the maintenance of those town-owned easements? So if the town owns an easement, it's up to us to maintain it, right? So that people's homes and backyards don't flood.
Most of our easements, town easements, usually go to somebody's front property,
Right.
their backyard.
Yep,
It's very rarely in the woods, sometimes it is.
yep,
In that case there, up on Katydid Lane, that was a situation that we never had a problem with for years,
right,
because the bogs was open, and when the bogs got shut down,
Yep.
some things were done
right.
and created an issue. I'm not sure if the town didn't create their own issue by certain things they did.
At the
when
time.
they took control of the bog,
Okay.
I've heard that
you know what I'm
too.
saying?
Yes, I do, I understand. They may not, when they
I
took,
would certainly work with anybody to try to correct the situation. I'm very hesitant to get in there with a machine and start clearing it out,
no, I know.
even in an easement area.
Because you've got
Even with the
conservation
easement-
right there, you got
Even
all
the
that.
easement, I'm
Yeah.
bordering on conservation there.
Yep,
It's the old Spitty Bogs, isn't it,
Yes.
on Indiana Street?
yep.
But the problem is that with the recent weather patterns that we've had, especially windstorms, and you know what it's like, right? If these easements are causing problems because they're not updated or cleaned out or whatever, right? Then it becomes a problem to the average homeowner who has homes near the facility. Their backyards are flooding. This particular person's backyard was a swamp.
The solution I do have is an organization that a lot of times will supersede conservation and a lot of the wetland stuff. And that's Plymouth County Mosquito.
Mosquito control.
Okay.
And I brought them in before, when I've been in an area that I couldn't wait 10 years for the permits to finish up.
Right.
And they've come in and cleaned it out for me.
Okay.
But you have a maintenance like you guys go in and clean storm drains out and stuff like that, right? Yeah, I'm not saying it's gonna solve everything. Yeah, I know.
Well, that's what I'm here to bring about.
I don't have the time to be out there.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I was even hoping, if we thought about maybe, Bob, just, if we're fortunate enough to have any excess cash for, snow and ice, do you need, yeah, could you
Not
move it to
this
that?
year, yeah.
Not this year, but you know what, my point is that, if you're in need of additional employment staff, or different staff or something like that, please bring it to our attention. If you think that it's a good idea. I don't know how many town-owned easements we have.
Like summer help or something, like
Yeah,
if we needed to
or
do.
what we can do to
Some of
help.
it is something that me and Mike McHugh have been talking about and working on, but we've been working with it with Todd,
Okay,
because right now, the situation financially still isn't in place.
okay.
I have some people that I can use in emergencies, but when that comes up, I usually come up here and talk to Mike and Todd.
I'm just thinking about all the stuff. You've got grading of the roads, which you guys have started, the
Yeah.
street sweeping, which you've started, and there's tons of trees down on, that you guys are gonna have to.
That's the way I go
it-
through life up to.
I know. My condolences, but.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so if all those things are impacting you, do we have a true plan to maintain the town-owned easements like these?
No.
Especially ones with, next to the homes?
There isn't a lot to, other than cutting brush here and there, there
Right.
isn't a lot to
To maintain?
maintaining an easement. Most of the time they sit there. That's why most highway superintendents are against the open drainage.
Go ahead, Donnie.
No, can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
No, I agree with Bob. There's over 20 detention and retention areas in Hanson, and the state mandates that they put them in when they do developments. But then the state doesn't give us any money to maintain them.
Right,
And there's over 20 of them, am I wrong, that need to be done?
Yeah, yeah.
maintain.
And actually, there's a lot of them, I've been around town looking at them, and, because I'm on the drainage committee, and I haven't worked with Bob properly on it, but there's no money to clean out these detention and retention areas. And there's some of them right along the edge of the road on Whitman Street that have gone back to nature.
Well, why aren't we asking for
They've
money? then?
completely
Right, we should be.
filled up, they've covered the pipes, and the water is running the same way it was running 100 years ago.
Yep.
So why did they bother put it in? Why did they maintain that we have to put them in?
Right.
I mean, this is the problem.
Right.
And the town has not got money to take and maintain them.
Yeah, but don't, it's like talking to a wall. When somebody brings something up for poor people, and we say, we don't have the money or the manpower to maintain something, and they completely ignore you and they go ahead and do it anyhow,
That's right.
then you're wasting your money. Well, I can't say any more than I have.
Well, but you are working with Mike, are you working with Mike on getting help to help address that?
Yeah, when we can
Okay.
afford it, when we can sustain even part-time, then that'll be done. But for right now, I'm grateful I don't have layoff.
No, I hear you, but I mean, like, we've already
is what-
closed this warrant, but I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity for the October,
There might be.
town warrant to
Yeah.
get an article in there to try to get some money so that we can get these things addressed?
If we could, Bob, if you have, over, between now and then, I think what we're getting in line with here is, could we get a list of whatever, all the town-owned easements? And especially those ones that are near homes, because those would be the priority ones, right?
Yeah,
ones that have
and the ones that
houses.
I've had issues with before,
Yeah,
we've always managed to take care of them.
right,
I backed away from Katie did because
I know,
it's
Because it's
involved
conservation.
other departments, not mine.
right.
It's not just easements, it's like Dawn said, retaining and,
Well,
this,
there's no maintenance.
yeah.
Right. So if you think about it, Mike, Bob, if you could meet with Mike and maybe come up with something on it, and this might be, add to your staff. If this means more people to get into that,
I have other things right now that I've been
get,
concerned about that's gonna mean some money down the road. and some culvert replacements.
Sure,
We have a culvert that was always referred to as a bridge on Pratt Place.
right.
That needs to be replaced. It's a problem.
Other areas.
It's the
So,
oldest road in town, and
so the culverts, so if we come up with, so this is our point. If you can come up with a list of the town-owned easements, and of course, those ones that have homes near them, and or the ones that you think that would be a priority to do, some things that may have to be done annually, maybe some things only have to be done every 3 years, you know? If we can come up with that type of plan for maintenance.
And tell
I
us
think-
what you need to do it.
Yes, Johnny,
No, I agree with Bob. I think, in fact, I used to use the Plymouth County Mosquito Control a lot in Hanover. I think the best thing to do is to see them on Katy did,
Yeah.
because they can go in there and clean out standing water.
And how does that work for the uninitiated? Do they charge us back? I know we paid to be part of them, but do they charge us for work that they do, or? Okay, all right.
It's very little, I believe. that
I don't know if
They were in
it's,
the mosquito
I've
control,
had very good
because
luck
they do
with
it on our private back road,
Yep.
back lot, in row houses. I mean, I even tell people to, they'll come up and spray your property
Yep.
in wetlands. And,
I use them on a regular basis. They've always had in town, trenches.
but I think they can, I know they can help you out up there, Will.
if they can help dig that trench out because it's overgrown, and I understand your point, it's near Smitty's Bog, conservation, it's a nightmare to think about touching, I get it. But I'm looking at these two people's backyards, and if we could have, even if we could have thought about maybe extending the pipe to where it should go in order for this thing to work. I know conservation actually took care of this, by the way, I'm told.
Yeah.
They actually opened up, what are those things called? They removed them.
Flumes,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
So some of the water could flow, and of course, some of those culverts at the bog, right now that we own the bog, have to be cleaned out.
Yes.
And they're not, because the flow is not as strong or as it should be.
You're
So,
getting the same thing that's crossing under the roads.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
the water's so high, and different people, their own bogs, or
Yeah.
whoever, that's control.
Yeah.
Have everything slowed down to properly walk.
so I only see, this work for your department like increasing, Bob, and I know that we've got, so if you come up with this, and it justifies an increase to your budget, or if it justifies adding additional staff, I think this board, no matter who's here or whatever, they're gonna analyze the data, they're gonna look at it, they're gonna question things, but I don't think that I think they'd be willing they'd definitely be willing to work with you, to come up with whatever we can do.
Yeah, because it's not fair to be saying, be responsive, and just do it with what you've got. And, I mean, obviously, do more with less, that's been our mantra in town for years, it will continue to be our mantra. But in reality, if you're doing as much as you possibly think you can, and the need outstrips what you've got, then you've just got to communicate. Sounds like you are working with Mike, and we'll try to work with you.
Oh,
And
yeah, I talk to Mike on a daily basis on things, to bring him up on different issues and problems we have. Stormwater and the cleanouts of those, that's basic type of stuff.
Yeah,
There's other stuff that's more
relevant, closer,
trying
yeah.
and stuff that requires manpower and
Yeah, the gentleman who showed me was in his 70s, and he said he can't dig it out anymore. So if we can maybe look, and by the way, I would do this for anybody, and I think anybody on this board would do this for anybody
if you
who would
leave
call on it.
his information.
I'll forward you his information afterwards, sure.
I'll,
That'd be terrific, I appreciate it.
it.
Yeah, very nice guy, very reasonable, veteran.
But I probably know.
Yeah, I'm sure. But and again, Bob, whatever you need, because I understand your department has probably been swamped with all the snow, trees,
Yeah.
everything that's happened. And I only see these weather-related issues getting worse,
I
We had,
completely
the first storm, we had 126, 128 trees come down in 5 hours
Yeah.
on public ways.
I mean, how much water and rain are we getting too, if this is gonna be the case, right? So it's gonna be, and it makes sense for us to come up and be proactive to this so that we can impact or not impact people's homes, right? And especially their homes. Backyard I could live with if my backyard were flooded, but I wouldn't like it.
You got the pond there.
Yeah, right. But,
Something I did want to ask permission for the selectmen to go forward with was after these storms, there's a lot of debris. We're picking up so much of it, but the households have a lot of debris. We wanted to sponsor a collection day like we did before.
Sure, with the tree
Down the
branches and
industrial
stuff?
park, where they
Yeah.
bring them down.
Make a huge pile of wood chips?
Yeah, in the old days, we'd burn it, now we're gonna grind it up.
And wasn't that wood chip pile open to the public if they wanted to take some or no?
Oh, up there?
Yeah, am I
Back when
thinking-
we did that,
Back
yeah.
when we did that, is that the type of thing you have in mind, Bob? Is that what you mean?
I was just gonna have it ground up and get rid of everything.
So people
Oh, I
would bring
see.
it to you? You'd have like a.
Yeah, they should have a drop off of
Yeah,
their
okay.
brush. And
And people can have it ground?
I'd probably do it in the industrial park on Franklin Street, where we can store it till we get it, a tub grinder in.
I gotcha.
Okay.
Also, street
That's a good
sweepings.
idea.
We started street sweepings, and I don't have as much street sweepings as we've had in the past,
Yep,
but I'm storing them out behind the highway department. I have a
okay.
little area there, and when it fills up, I'll truck it out.
They're going like gangbusters. Indian Street looks good. Indian Head Street
Yeah,
looks
there's not a lot.
good. Yeah.
But again, whatever you need, because I think, you're like a lot of the other department heads, you're shy to come to, but don't come to us for, well, especially if it comes to maintaining these pieces of property, because in all retrospect, they are our responsibility, our meaning the town. The town-owned easements, we're responsible for maintaining them, and we should be, to make sure that people's homes are safe from flooding, so,
Absolutely.
thank you. I appreciate it. I'll forward you his information too.
Thanks.
I appreciate you coming on short notice, Bob.
No problem. See you later.
Have a good night.
Next we have is why don't we go to appointments and resignations. We have, on our agenda, it's under appointments and resignations, we have recreation. We have a Melissa Scartizzi on 38 Holly Ridge Drive, term to expire June 30th, 2019. This is to fill the Rachel Gross vacancy on the Recreation Commission. You guys should have that on your, I think it's item 6 on your iPads, application for appointments. She's been with the town for 3 years and looking to get more involved in town government. So I would entertain a motion to accept application for
So
appointment.
moved.
Melissa Scartizzi. Melissa's not here with us tonight, but I.
No, but it's nice to have somebody new stepping up
Stepping up.
and wanting to get involved.
I agree.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0. Thank you very much, Melissa, and congratulations. Okay, so my town administrator has asked me to move on to these items. He's trying desperately after he meets with FinCom to come back to us. So we're going to move to old business. This is the voting of recommendations of the town meeting articles. So,
Did you deliberately pass on the conservation? Did Mike ask you to hold?
yeah, he asked me to pass on that one.
Okay.
Sorry, Mary.
All right, just checking.
Yep. I think he said he wanted to explain something.
Yeah.
So that's why.
We're moving on to the.
So we're moving on to the item 7. You should have the special town meeting. Actually, excuse me, this is the, special town meeting, item
Special- Yeah,
7.
we should do special town meeting.
There's only 16 articles.
Item 7.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a yellow sheet in your packets. That's easier to see. The yellow sheet is a summary. The details of the articles are on your iPads, okay? So why don't you guys get situated, and once I see everybody situated, we'll be good. It's item 7. Donnie, you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Item 7 for the details, all right. So, why don't we, again, we're here to vote, actually, we're here to recommend each one of these items. So, some of them I thought were incomplete, where they don't have amounts, so obviously for those ones, we will not do, all right, guys? So, unless anybody objects, you certainly can, it's up to you. So the first one is on unpaid bills, and we have no amount on that one, so I'm going to skip that one for recommendation. All right, guys? Just making sure we're all on it. The second one, we have Article 2, to see if the town will vote to transfer from available funds a sum of money to supplement appropriations previously voted at the annual town meeting, May 2017.
That's got question marks.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah,
questions.
we're still waiting for exact figures. We want to get a little bit closer to town meeting.
Oh, I see.
Where we are. Some of these, that we've got the
Adjustments?
legal line, IT, we know, at least, when Todd and I put this together,
Yeah.
we had 280,000 for snow and ice.
Okay,
That may have changed, I think we had a storm after that.
yep,
So we'll we'll tighten these up.
So what we're
but-
waiting for is, even though you gave us the original budget amount, we might have an adjustment amount in a
Correct.
ending amount budget. I'm with
Correct.
you.
I'm guessing the legal line and the IT may be 15,000 apiece.
Okay.
But that's,
We'll skip it until next week.
right,
Okay.
we can do that.
All right. Article 3 is the police chief dispatch console. This is for $50,000 to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of $50,000 from free cash for the purchase of a new analog digital radio dispatch console for the police department. And the explanation is that the current two-position radio dispatch console is beginning to fail. The equipment is 11 years old and has reached its end of life.
I move to recommend.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0 to recommend Article 3, special town meeting. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of $20,000 from free cash for the purchase of new ballistic vests for the police department. Current vests are 5 years old. The service life of a ballistic vest is 5 years. The equipment is crucial to the safety of our
I
officers.
move to recommend.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. Okay, moving on to Article 5, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash or other available funds a sum of money, oh, it's in here, okay, for grading of private ways under the direction of the highway surveyor, which Laura just mentioned. These funds, the amount is $10,000. These funds are used to purchase materials and for contracting with a contractor with grader for private ways to which the town maintains.
I move to recommend.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. By the way, if anybody wants to discuss, just stop me, okay? Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer $30,000 from free cash, excuse me, for the purpose of replacing existing flooring at the senior center and adjoining community room. Existing flooring is original to the building in 1991. With the 27-year-old flooring has reached the end of its life.
I move to recommend.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 on Article 6 to recommend. 7 is the historical, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a transfer of available funds, sum of money to be added in the amounts appropriated in Article 31 of the October 2017 special town meeting to replace and install the water wheel at Thomas Mill. The October special town meeting approved $9,000. However, the repair of the wooden wheel is not feasible and will need to be rebuilt and replaced. In addition, the request did not include installation. The installation wasn't included in this request.
I move to recommend.
Second.
The amount is $15,000.
I just want to mention that, Thomas Mill hasn't really asked for much at all.
Yeah.
It is a town-owned property, and I think this is going to be a critical player in the upcoming 200th anniversary, so.
If I'm not
Jim?
mistaken, it's just $6,000 more than.
What they've asked for.
Yeah, in October, so they never got that money.
No.
No, this is in addition.
to the
This is,
9,000.
It is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's in addition to the 9,000.
Okay.
So apparently the 15,000, Jim, is for the installation of it, which they didn't account for originally. I mean, how many wooden wheels you see we putting in,
I
right?
think they thought it was going to
They
be
thought
a
it was
bit
gonna be
easier than
donated.
it ended
Oh,
up
is
being.
that why?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they realized it's a bigger project.
It's
than
pretty
they anticipated.
Herculean task.
Yeah,
I think they
still
thought, a couple guys, and then they figured out.
Yeah, I still
This
have
is-
Plus, this one is being rebuilt and replaced.
Yeah.
so. Okay, so the motion is made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0 to recommend Article 7. Article 8 is to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from free cash for repairs at Indian Head Elementary and Hanson Middle Schools. And this is the replacement of deteriorating exterior doors and card access. Estimated amount is $25,000. Indian Head replacement of acoustic tiles in the gymnasium, which are stained in the, I guess is very poor condition and need to be replaced. The actual amount is $50,000.
So moved.
It's $25,000 for
Second.
each school. Made and seconded. Anything further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 to recommend. Article 9, see if the town will vote to transfer $35,000 from free cash or available funds to reimburse the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District for the removal of asbestos and retiled in rooms 100 and 101, which they removed and replaced the walls at Indian Head. I guess they've already done this work and they're looking to be
Yes, they're
reimbursed.
looking for reimbursement. Yep.
This, again, this amount is for $35,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion or questions? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-0. Jim, you're for us on that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, man. Article 10, Recreation, to see if the town will vote to transfer from the Recreation Enterprise retained earnings a sum of money to supplement the amounts appropriated in Article 11, Item 8, on the May 2016 annual town meeting to replace the septic system at Camp Kawani.
So moved.
Second.
This amount was for $25,000. Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to transfer $23,000 from the Recreation Enterprise retained earnings to establish a Wi-Fi capabilities throughout the camp via Comcast underground and aerial connections. And this is the first step in establishing a pay-as-you-go online payment option at the Cove and Lodge area, and to attain the goal of a no-cash policy throughout the camp.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. I'm just sorry it cost $23,000
I know.
to do, you know?
Yeah.
I would like to have seen us get free Wi-Fi from,
Well, they gotta bring it into the road. They're gonna have to
Oh.
bring-
yeah, and that's where it
Yeah,
costs,
it's a
because it's
distance to
underground,
get-
and it's
right.
it's the legwork on it, okay. Thank you, Mary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0 on this Article 11 to recommend. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money from and we have a dollar amount here, but not in the actual article. Is that true, Mary? Is this the dock
Correct.
replacement?
These, the numbers that are on the spreadsheet will change because I believe that Recreation's gonna supplement from retained earnings, and I think CPC's only gonna be putting in about 40,000.
Okay,
But I gotta confirm that.
so
All right, so we should,
bypass this one.
Yeah.
We can hold that.
Okay, we'll hold on Article 12. So I'm just putting skip or hold,
and I
right?
think that's it on that, right? Because it's all zeros the rest of the way.
Yes, it should be, yep.
So the other ones are
Just clean
the
up?
typical classification plan, which we had already voted under wage and personnel. So the first one's the classification plan, which we had,
And there was only
minor changes
two
to-
changes, right?
yeah.
If you guys see it, I think one was to the standard student police officer from $20 to $35. Excuse me, from $20 to $30 to $20 to $35.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is a new part-time police officers or special police officers, which we have nothing for 2017, but we will for $25 to $55. Is that correct?
Right, and it's also increasing the end range for the police chief's administrative assistant.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion made. Do I have it seconded?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Again, this is no money associated to it. This is, selectmen have recommended. Article 13. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to amend its general bylaws. Article 2-12, classification and compensation. This is the eligibility for benefits. This is the employees hired after June 30, 2018, eligible for health insurance, as identified above, will contribute 35% toward family coverage and 25% for individual coverage.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. This is important, as the current plan was pretty much very lucrative, I guess.
Very
right?
important.
So Article 15 is money coming back to the town? Wow, here we go, right? To see if the town will vote to rescind the borrowing authority for $500,000, which constitutes the balance that is not going to be borrowed for the water tank.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. I don't think anybody would say no to returning the money, right? Maybe they would. To see if the town will vote to rescind, moving on to Article 16, borrowing authority for $700,000, which constitutes the balance that is not going to be borrowed for the demolition of the Plymouth County Hospital. This was extra money from the Plymouth County Hospital.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. And that should take care of the special town meeting 16 articles, right? So we move on to the, I think it's item 7B on your iPads. These are the details of the 34 articles, right? Some of them don't have numbers, so we're gonna have to wind up skipping them or holding them until, right? So let's make sure we're all paying attention. Okay, Article 1 was to hear reports of the various town offices, committees, special committees, and act thereon. This was, the reports voted on are those published in the 2017 town report. This is no money value. I would entertain a motion to accept,
So moved.
recommend Article 1.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0, recommending Article 1. Article 2, to see if the town will authorize the treasurer collector to enter into compensating balance agreements during fiscal 2019, as permitted by Mass General Bylaws, Chapter 44, Section 53F. This is, every year this article is voted, it simply allows the treasurer collector to maintain accounts using credits instead of money to pay for banking charges.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0 to recommend Article 2. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to transfer from $20,000 from overlay surplus for the treasurer collector's tax title account. This money will be used to cover the costs incurred for filing and advertising properties with delinquent taxes, and also to pay any legal fees resulting from this process.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. To recommend Article 3. Article 4 is a Board of Selectmen one, and there's no money value to this one. This is to set elected salaries, to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all paid elected officers and committees of the town as follows. The town clerk from fiscal year 18 from $67,205 to $69,221 for fiscal year 19. The tree warden from $3,055 fiscal year 18 to $3,116 fiscal year 19.
So moved.
Second.
Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 to recommend Article 4. Article 5, to
This is just the budget article, which we're gonna hold because we don't have the budget all
Yep.
straightened out yet. FinCom's still working on it.
on what, Article 5?
5, yeah, so we can hold that for.
Okay, we'll hold on this one? Good. Okay, Article 6, we have some money to it, right?
Yes, this is the budget for the Recreation Enterprise Fund.
Enterprise, okay.
So,
So this is the amount of $370,469, right?
correct.
In total, which is a combination of program receipts, retained earnings for fiscal year 19, nothing on taxation, salaries, expenses, debt service, and indirect costs. I would entertain a motion to accept Article 6.
So moved.
Second.
Recommend, forgive me. Made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0, recommend Article 6. Article 7, this is a Board of Health article. The amount is total of $345,016. $100,000 will be raised and appropriate. Other sources would be $245,016. okay?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I met with the town accountant after these had already been printed, and after meeting with the Finance Committee, the Board of Health met with the Finance Committee last week, and those numbers have been adjusted.
Okay,
So, the new numbers, the new bottom line numbers, the total budget revenue is $331,706.
okay,
The amount of taxation in that column will be $86,690.
690. Okay,
And down in the next section, that changed. The salaries have been adjusted to $116,632,
right now it says 539, okay,
Yeah.
that's only 100, okay,
with $58,985 coming from taxation.
okay.
The program revenues will be $187,369
Okay. Are these are for fiscal 18 or 19?
for 19.
19, I'm
Yeah.
with you, okay.
And then the taxation through indirect costs
Yep.
is $27,705.
Okay, bring in a
for a
grand
Total
total,
budget of $331,706.
that's the total number.
Yeah, so it's less than what I have on my
Less than what you
sheet
have here.
and on that, but the next time you see the warrant, that information will be corrected.
So we can,
Based on that information.
based on this
we can
information,
start
vote on it?
with-
I'd like to
Yeah.
vote on it. Are you
So
guys good with
moved.
it?
Second.
Moved and seconded, based on the recommendations provided by Mary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 to recommend Article 7. Article 8, CPC annual budget. This is for the article, this article ensures the Hanson's community preservation accounts are compliant with the Community Preservation Act, which requires that a certain portion of CPA funds be set aside for open space projects, community housing projects, historical projects, and recreation projects. In addition, it sets aside money for the administrative expenses of the CPC committee.
So moved.
Second.
And that total amount is $240,000, folks, so moved and seconded. Questions or comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0 to recommend Article 8.
Article 9 is the capital improvement matrix. We have not received that yet from capital improvement, so you may want to hold that.
Okay. We'll hold.
Do we have an ETA on that?
I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
I think they met, did they meet Monday? Capital improvement?
At FinCom were they just talking about it? Yeah.
Not, okay,
Okay.
okay, hopefully they get it to us this week. Article 10, we have, the amount is $575,000, right? And this is the, you've got actually 6 itemized. Are we gonna have a 7th, Mary, or no?
No, but I like to leave myself space because
That's why.
I have trouble like adding them, and subtracting them, so until I know what the real answer is, I leave an extra
Is
space.
this on lockdown, though?
This is what we currently have. I would suggest maybe we hold it because the school may pull an article, or we may change some of the
Okay.
funding sources.
Okay,
So I would rather leave this as a hold until next week.
yep.
Uh,
Now, this where it says town admin recommendation, will he be putting a number in there, yes or no?
He'll put a recommendation in,
Okay.
yes.
A dollar amount, yes? Or is it just a yes or no?
No, it'll be a recommend or not
I
recommend.
got you,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, that's blank. We're looking at that blank, so we're gonna hold 2. Good. Article, excuse me, Article 11, same thing, Mary, or what? This is high school changes.
Yeah, we'll hold those. There was some discussion about what they were gonna do with those, with respect to reaching their budget numbers.
Okay.
Plus, I would think we'd want to see what Mike is saying.
Yeah, I think what Whitman contributes too has an impact too,
Yes.
am I right? So,
This,
for high school,
if everything was equal and all the budget numbers are in,
yeah,
this is what our share would be.
I got
This is our
you.
40,
Okay.
whatever
Right,
percent.
but they're
Okay.
still talking about the budget, so I would recommend that we hold that until,
I've never noticed that column.
oh, really?
Town admin
Yeah,
recommend?
I don't remember it either.
I know, I'm with you. Okay. Item 12, this is proposed by the fire chief, this is for a new fire engine, $600,000 borrowing. These funds are requested to replace a 1986 Maximum pumper with a pumper that has more water and pump capacity. This requires a 2/3 vote, and this is for the town to vote to raise through borrowing $600,000 for the purchase of a new fire engine and to meet this appropriation. The treasurer with approval such as
Second.
authorized to borrow it. Moved and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye, 5-0 to
Aye.
recommend. 13 is the school committee. This one is a definite, Mary, right?
Right, this is the
Yeah, yeah.
HVAC.
HVAC
for
from
the,
Ernie. He
for
sent
the high
us
school,
this, yeah.
and that would be our share of it.
I don't know if you guys knew, but over the past couple of years, they've had heating and air issues up there for the HVAC. So, anyways, okay. To see if the town will approve $500,000 borrowing authorized by the Whitman-Hanson Regional School District to pay costs of designing and carrying out HVAC improvements at the Hanson Middle School. The project shall consist of providing a high-efficiency variable refrigerant flow, heat pumps, air conditioning system for the second floor classrooms and learning spaces at the Hanson Middle School. It goes on to tell us when the middle school was constructed in 1998, approximately 157,000 square foot, but I don't think we need to go into that. So I would look to entertain a motion to recommend Article 13 from the selectmen.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 to recommend Article 13. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to accept and enter into a contract for the expenditure of any allocated or to be allocated funds by the Commonwealth or North County pursuant to General Law, Chapter 90, for the construction improvements of town roads. This article is a requirement of the Commonwealth of Mass for the town of Hanson to accept state funding, including Chapter 90 funding for accepted roadways.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There's no dollar value to this one either, so. Moving along, we're going at a pretty good clip. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to replenish the Conservation Fund for open space management. And this is a normal task for implementing the open space and recreation plan. That is currently one of more important responsibilities of the Conservation Commission. Some of the goals of this plan are to acquire land for conservation, linked system of open space, trails, and greenways, accessible to the public, improve public access, such as the creation of parking spaces, and so forth. It also allows for the installation of kiosks at open space parcels and providing signs for existing municipal open space.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Article 15 is recommended for $5,000. The
The old trucks.
Article 16, to see if the town will vote to transfer from water surplus $80,000 to purchase 2 new trucks for the department. So the department needs to replace 2 vehicles due to their age. $80,000.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to recommend Article 16. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Just, I did want a very brief, I was having.
Go ahead, yeah, sure.
Rudely, I was having a sidebar
It's okay,
with
no
Don.
worries, yeah.
But what I had asked is what I'm sure other people are gonna ask, which is what's happening to the old trucks.
One of them's going for,
Didn't we give it to animal
Yeah,
control?
Yes.
One of them's going to animal control.
Well,
yes, the animal control.
And the other one's, the other
Yeah,
one's getting
exactly.
junked.
The other one's getting
Junked because of its...
Surplus, salvage,
Surplus?
whatever, yeah.
Okay. Article 17, the amount of $18,000, to see if the town will vote to transfer from water surplus $18,000 to purchase 2 storage containers for the water department. These containers will be used for storage for the department's smaller equipment. Funds also be used for concrete pads to put the containers on.
So
give
moved.
us, second.
Moved and seconded. Donnie, did you want to say something?
No, it's just gonna give us more room in the garage.
Okay. All those in favor to recommend? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to Article 18, this is the water condition again. Oh, this is the SCADA, right? To see if the town will vote to transfer from water surplus $40,000 to upgrade the SCADA panel at the well field. This is called, it's called the Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System Panel, which is located at the deep well in the VFD room, is outdated. The panel was installed in 1984, and the communication is no longer compatible with our new upgraded SCADA computer
So
at the
moved.
office.
Second.
It's for 40,000.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0 to recommend Article 18.
Mr. Chairman, 19 and 20 are to put funds in the stabilization fund and the school stabilization fund. I recommend you hold those. Those are definitely going to be subject to funding. We may not have any money by the time we
Cool.
reach those.
I had sent you an email on those, Mary. You can ignore them now, saying there was no amounts, but yeah.
The, and Article 21 is the
Regional
regional
districts.
agreement with Whitman Hanson.
Yeah.
We don't have that yet. I would suggest you hold that, but we do have the one from Socio Votech because, which is following Article 22.
Yep.
Tom Hickey had come in.
Actually, that's the one that we
On that
reviewed.
one,
Yep. Okay, so we're going to hold on Article 21. We're actually holding on Articles 19, 20, and 21. And we are voting on Article 22, which is from the South Shore Votech. And this is to vote to approve amended regional agreement. I think we all know what that was not too far off,
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor to recommend, say aye. Aye. 5-0. Next one is the Article 23. This is the quorum bylaw, and we're actually going to hold off on this one, because we've got some minor changes to it, okay?
Well, Beth is here.
Are you gonna discuss the changes, or why don't you instead
Well-
of holding up, why don't you figure out what you wanna do with it?
My town administrator asked me to hold off from discussing them, but basically, from what I understand on this one, was that we were to, we want to make sure that if we're going to make this change, we should make it for the annual town meeting and the special town meeting, right? For this quorum change. And that's what we want to make sure that we do, if we're going to do it, makes sense to me. We don't want to have a different, because I think
Yeah.
we're going to incur problems if we do that. We spoke on that, right? So,
I'm curious, Beth, what's your thought on this?
I don't mind having the quorum changed if that's what you guys want, but I just want it to be equal. If you had 75 people quorum for the special, that's great in October.
what you do the annual.
In May, if you have 100 for the annual and 75 for the special, in order to get to the special, you're still gonna have to have 100 people to open the annual before you get to the special.
Right.
So it's a
I-
moot
yeah.
point.
I get concerned, like, I understand why, because it was really difficult. It's always difficult. I mean, we all get to the last minute, we're texting everybody we know, and even people we don't know, begging them to come. And, and it's all, depending upon the issues, if there's nothing particularly meaty or a big, budget item on there, we narrowly make the quorum. But I get worried when we're narrowing, like, I feel like we're going in the opposite direction. Instead of encouraging more engagement, we're kind of kowtowing to the fact that people don't want to be engaged. And I know it's a reality. I'm just kind of bemoaning the fact that, and I get worried that when we reduce the number to 75, do you run the risk that you're going to have some special interest groups, that are going to take over the whole town meeting? Because 75 isn't hard to get if you've got, a passionate group of people, and it could really change the complexion of, the landscape of what goes on in the town. If you've got a big budget item on there or something that can really change the town, I don't know, whatever that might be, say a shopping mall or something like that, and you get 75 people that are pro, well, then everybody else is going to really have to just kind of eat crow if they didn't show up at the town meeting. And, I don't know. I understand why we've got it. I do. I really do. It's
just disappointing to have 7,000 voters in town and only have less than 100 show up for a meeting. It is the people's town, and it's their money we're voting on. And I think a lot of people ought to get more interested in the town.
I agree.
And,
You all set, Tony?
I'm just disappointed to have that many voters in town and then have less than 100 people show up at town meeting. It's really disappointing to me. And I understand today, there's a lot more activity for children in schools, and people aren't home as much as they used to be, and people got 2 jobs, and they don't have the time. They don't have the babysitters, but it's just too bad, because our grandparents and parents didn't go through that as bad back then when there was less people.
Mr. Young?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the board, I would urge that you not recommend this article to the town meeting. I've lived in Hanson since 1971. The quorum in 1971 was 100. The quorum now is 100. The population in 1971 was about 3,900. I looked it up. The population now in the town of Hanson is over 10,000. The registered voters in 71 were around 3,700. The registered voters now are 7,600. I don't have to tell you what's happened to the budget. That's gone up 3 or 4-fold in the 40 years that I've lived in town. So now you're going to have 0.9% of the registered voters in town voting on a $24 million budget, our portion of a $50 million school budget, and God knows what capital expenses might come down the road. I echo Mrs. Kemet's sentiments that we're going in the wrong direction here. And sure, we had problems getting a quorum last February when there was one important article on there, and that was coming from free cash.
February 5th, I don't think we had a problem.
Yeah, we did. We had to wait about 20 minutes. I mean, so big deal. And in the 40 years I've been here, in the 40 years that I've been here, we were sent home once that I can remember, and I've been to just about every town meeting since 1971. We were sent home once because we couldn't get a quorum, and it was a similar situation to February.
Yeah.
So if the clock isn't broken,
Actually, it was done in October. February we were okay. But
yeah, we had to wait about 20 minutes in February. Yeah.
Bob?
So if the clock isn't broken, don't fix it. Don't go back.
Just a point, there are towns out there that do not have a quorum, and that just to scare people that they always get at least over 100 people, because people are afraid that no one's gonna show up. So,
So there are towns out there with no quorum?
no harm.
Wow.
And they always have like 200, I had talked to one town clerk, she goes, we don't have anyone under 200 people, you know, for when they have no quorum.
Because they're afraid
so-
no one's gonna
they're
show
so
up, so you
afraid
get
that-
extra people.
that other
That
people-
5 people could make the
Yes.
decision. Yes.
So you can go either way, so,
Well, I do think this was a recommendation by the selectmen. And I think it was a result of the October meeting.
When did you actually discuss this, Mr. Chairman? I don't remember it being discussed, I just remember it being on the warrant, and then you talked about it, so,
I don't think it's never been on our agenda, Mr. Young.
so I don't.
As far as I know, this isn't just, but that is not a requirement to put it onto the
So how
warrant.
did it show up on the agenda if it wasn't discussed by the selectmen? I mean, why did it show up on the warrant?
It doesn't have to be discussed by the selectmen in order for it to be on the warrant.
So who put it on the warrant?
Apparently, the selectmen did, and I think we did it as a result of the October town meeting.
How?
Beth, did you want to say something?
I said,
Doesn't
we
make sense.
should just leave it at the 100 if everyone has, does anyone have an issue with that? So I suggest that we just take it off, or make it 75, whichever.
I mean, I feel like we did run into it that one time.
How many, let's look at
Yes,
historic.
yes.
Do we have any recent, over the last 5 years, Beth, that you can remember, or Mr. Young maybe too, I don't know?
Yes, we did.
How many, we did, one?
One
We
time.
couldn't hold business, it was in October.
What,
The Red Sox plan.
yes, okay. That was.
That's okay. Yeah.
That was unfortunate on one level and fortunate on another, but
Mr. Chairman, for a point of clarification, this particular article is on the warrant at the request of a member of the Board of Selectmen. It was placed on the warrant and not recommended at this point, and the conversation, I think, is taking place now or may
Yes.
take place at the next meeting. So if a Board of Selectmen asks for something to be put on the warrant, we put it before the entire board for placement on the warrant. Whether or not the board supports that in further conversations.
This is the
what I think is-
discussion happening
Which is
now.
what I think is happening
Yeah.
right
Right,
now.
yeah, yeah.
So again, to get back to it, the reason that this and maybe a couple other articles are on the particular warrant at this time, it's at a request of a member of the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah,
okay.
that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Jim, and, to what Beth said, I know it was a little scary, to think we weren't gonna have the quorum, this most recently, but given the fact that historically it's only been once, and I think, Dawn and I are both feeling like, are we going in the wrong direction here? And we want more people to be engaged.
Well, we did really well in February. We
Yeah.
did do well in February. It was the October one that was a problem. So,
So can we just, I would vote
leave
to
it at 100
pass
then.
over this one, and then we could always revisit it up the road. If we find it continues to plague us, we can revisit it up the road.
okay.
No, so we can
Vote
vote
to
to
not
remove.
recommend.
No, you're not gonna have an article proposed by us and not recommend it. So what you can do is vote to remove it from the warrant.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion to remove Article 23 from the warrant has been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Again, I think this was just to address maybe October, so thanks, Mike, for putting it on there. Article 24 is the revolving accounts, to see if the town will vote to set spending limits of the following revolving accounts. 2-9, assessors, 1,500, parks and fields, 10,000, library, 7,000, senior center programs, 2,500, senior center fees, 95,000, conservation commission, 7,500, Nathaniel Thomas Mill, 1,500. This article sets the spending limits for the annual revolving accounts, which have been consolidated into one article to streamline the warrant process.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of recommending Article 24, say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Article 25, I believe, has been asked. Are we holding off on this one,
Yeah,
Mike?
25 and 26, we're going to address at the next meeting. There's still some little legal work that needs to be done on it.
So Jay or whomever
J and
is
K.
tweaking?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So Articles 25 and 26, we're going to hold. Article 27 is the zoning bylaw frontage, to see if the town will vote to amend the Hanson Land Use Regulation zoning bylaw and the various sections mentioned minimum frontage requirements. It talks about the measured at street line where a lot has frontage on two streets, only one half, and linear distance on the curve at the intersection. I had to read this a few
No,
times.
you
No, you
don't
don't,
actually,
don't.
Mr. Chairman. Actually, what I'm going to suggest is the planning board
Yes.
questions, that the board hold off on those as well until they go through their thorough.
Because I have questions on this, but
Yeah.
I don't think we can here address them. I just
No.
want to know, like, how many people are going to benefit, how many people have we run into problems?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to just keep passing bylaws for the sake of passing bylaws.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
and that's a question, because these are proposed by the planning
That's how I
board to
feel
have with the
about
planning
sewage.
board.
Well, that's one of the questions I had. If this is a zoning bylaw change, shouldn't it be the ZBA making the recommendation?
No,
No,
there's-
planning board.
Yeah, planning board makes the zoning changes.
Okay, because the zoning board enforces them,
So
right?
you're gonna
They
include all
enforce
of
some
them
of,
up
they
to
enforce
what?
some of them, but these are always presented by, zoning changes are always presented by the planning board.
Planning boards? Okay.
Yes.
So are you saying also we should, oh, wow, okay, so that really gets us all the way?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
it does, 27 through 32.
okay.
So 27 through 32, we're going to hold.
Yep,
These are all planning board
yep.
items. And if I'm not mistaken, we have, the next one is Article 33, the
We're
amended,
holding on that, too.
we're holding on legal issues for
Yeah.
this one? Okay. Article 34, town clerk. This is the election article. I don't think this one is just, is done every year, isn't it? To
Yeah, that's
bring in the
just-
votes, following offices, a moderator for 1 year, two selectmen for 3 years, an assessor for 3 years, board of health member for 3 years. So these are the various timeframes for each of these positions held.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of supporting Article 34, say aye.
Aye.
This is to recommend only, forgive me.
And so, Mike, the
Yeah.
recall one we'll discuss at our next meeting?
Yes.
or- Okay,
Yeah, there were some additional things that we had been going over with town council that they
changes.
haven't addressed yet. They've actually addressed the majority of them, but not everything that I think that the board has asked. So the couple of ones that have some legal ramifications, we're gonna go over at the next meeting before you sign the warrant.
okay.
So, Mike, we successfully passed the police chief's contract with the extension of 5 years.
Okay.
We voted okay on the Mower Dyer soil removal permit.
Good.
The only thing that I think we've left to do are the approving mass pregnancy fairness policy, which I thought we already did last week, didn't we?
No,
No,
remember, we
that was
didn't have the
equal
policy.
opportunity.
No,
No,
we,
no, we did equal opportunity,
Yeah.
which we adjusted as an exempted group.
okay.
This is the mass pregnancy fairness
Fairness
policy
policy.
is something that just came down, went into effect April 1st,
Okay.
which we're required to amend. This is a much lengthier.
Yeah.
So this is item 3. I read this, actually. Basically, you can't discriminate against pregnant people.
Yes, that's in a
Hotel.
nutshell. And this is basically, based on the guidelines that the state had put down.
And I saw the undue hardship, so you have to provide a space for them to
Yep, yep.
breastfeed and so
We
on.
don't have a choice about this, Mike, just to be
No,
clear.
there's no choice, no,
Okay.
in all honesty.
I vote to move that we adopt the Massachusetts Pregnant Workers Fairness Act policy.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0 on approving the mass pregnancy fairness policy. The next one we had was the vehicle, I read this one too.
That's the one that we had
Yeah,
tabled
that's
because
the-
I didn't have it
That's
on
okay,
the
no worries. But
iPads.
It wasn't too long. It's two and a half pages, really.
Yeah, and in a nutshell, Mr. Chairman, basically,
Item 4.
I think I may have touched upon it at the last meeting. Basically, this has just been amended to tighten up the rules, the policies on terms of use of private vehicles versus vehicles that the town owns and mileage. We had been finding that there'd been some considerable submissions for reimbursement for mileage, which maybe in the past was understandable because we didn't exactly have the best of fleet. However, we have put in a couple of halfway decent vehicles, and whereas I am not going to preclude the possibility of an employee using their own vehicle and being reimbursed for use of that vehicle, it's now more of a procedure that you need to get permission, and we got to make sure that there isn't an appropriate town vehicle for you to use. So that's it in a nutshell. I ran it by the department heads. They really didn't have any comments or any objections to it. So with that one change, I'm asking for that policy to be enacted.
I move that we approve the municipal vehicle policy as presented.
Second.
Made and seconded. Further comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 on the approvals of both the pregnancy and municipal vehicle policy. Next, we have on our item, agenda is the appointments resignation. Matt Tennis was supposed to be, he was here a moment ago, right?
Yeah.
Permanent part-time conservation agent. Mike, you wanted to explain?
Yeah, I had a conversation with the chairman of the Conservation Commission. They are very happy with the work that Matt has done in the interim position.
Yep.
They have indicated their interest in having him continue on in a permanent fashion. I certainly agree with it. I think the department heads who, they've been working with Matt anyways in terms of his health agent position, they're all very appreciative of the work he does. He enjoys this sort of work. And basically what we've agreed to is he will get a stipend of $20,000 a year to fill that full-time role, which is actually a reduction in terms of what we had been expending in the past for that role. So,
What were we spending in the past?
well, it was a joint
the joint plan.
position,
Oh,
if you
it was
recall.
37.5.
And it was 37 and 37, yeah.
Now, Mike, can you remind us, originally when Matt was appointed, wasn't his appointment until June? Or when we appointed him temporarily, what was there a period of time, like?
I think the appointment was to the end of the year, but
Yeah.
in speaking with the chairman of the Conservation Commission, and also in terms of making sure that, we have everything lined up correctly with the budget, because we put that money in the, we've taken that money, moved it around for the $20,000 stipend, that I think it makes sense now to immortalize his appointment as the permanent.
Part-time?
Yeah, I think
No.
it was as much
Permanent, really.
yeah, I think it was as much a trial period for
Yep.
him as it was for us.
Yep.
So I'm glad to hear that it's working for all parties.
So he hasn't been getting any additional compensation for doing that?
No, what we did is, I believe he was a 35-hour-a-week employee. We gave him 40 hours, so he was getting those additional hours. He was working the additional hours.
Okay.
So, he was getting, in a sense, that sort of consideration.
Okay.
But now that he's going to be doing more work, and that he is actually going to be the permanent, that it made sense for us to give him a stipend for doing that.
And Matt's okay with it? He's got
Oh,
enough
yeah,
time
he's-
to do the jobs, both jobs?
Yep.
So what will his
He'll
salary
able to do
be?
it at the
Well,
5
his
hours.
salary right now is, what are we paying him, 50?
60,
Is it 60 even?
I think.
60 even.
Then it will be with $20,000 stipend?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept Matt Tennis as the permanent part-time conservation agent.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do we have to put a time frame on this, Mary, or
I
no?
was just gonna ask the same question. Is there a time limit?
I don't think so. No, not
Okay.
on this.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Good job.
Thank you,
Because really, if it hadn't been for you connecting him with them, then,
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
It did work out, and I'm glad for
He's actually a good fit for the town. He's
glad for
really
him.
good.
I'm
He's
glad
really
for the
good.
Concom, and
Good guy.
I'm glad for really everyone. We lucked out. We really did.
He's not afraid to take on the tough tasks of both positions, so. Next, we move on to the town administrator's report, Mr. Mike McHugh.
Okay, let's see here. I think the most important thing that I want to touch upon is partially what I just went up and discussed with the FinCom. Actually had a very good conversation with them, answered an awful lot of their outstanding questions. I think they're pretty close to concluding what work they need to do. However, we had a number of conversations over the course of the day today with the town of Whitman and with various entities within the school department in terms of trying to finally hammer down a budget figure that all parties could live with. We're still, Whitman apparently, without putting words into Whitman's mouth, Whitman's having an awful lot of problems trying to get to an amount that they can afford without really doing something to their municipal operations. So we had a couple of conversations with Whitman, went back and forth with, again, members of the administration over at the schools, a couple of, one a member of the school committee. And we are going to have a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Whitman, Hanson, and members of the school committee and members of the administration to see if we can come to some sort of an agreeable compromise on the budget that the school has requested. I think that, as I've indicated at the last couple of meetings, I think the town of Hanson is in a fairly decent position in terms of our conversations, in terms of the numbers we're talking about. We're not entirely sure that that's something that's sustainable in the long term. So I think there are some considerations that need to be made for the out years. But the more immediate question is where Whitman is and, what we do going forward. Obviously, we try to, and I think we have successfully worked with Whitman in terms of what both towns can do or can't do. And at least the one year, the previous year that I had the conversations with the school committee, we came to an agreeable compromise. We're still not there yet.
Is that 11% still actively in play? I know you can't tell us dollar amounts, but
Not if Whitman's struggling.
The 11% is still the amount on which the school committee has voted. It's still officially the amount that's out there. Again, we're having conversations about what they can possibly live with and what we could possibly live with. So,
I expect that number to be reduced.
without getting too far afield, that's the conversation. I mean, obviously, that's the conversation, so. But,
The question is what can they do with it?
Well, exactly, and it's again, I think the real question is where Whitman is on all of this, and,
So Mike, those meetings that we held on
What's
the
that?
budget, the meetings that we held before on the budget?
yeah,
They really didn't help too much, did they?
no.
Okay.
So-
you built relationships.
Well,
You
no,
weren't-
in terms of where we are right now, in terms of the numbers, no, they're still officially, they've got their number. We've got a number in, our minds, what we can afford. However, to your point, I think that we have a very good working relationship. I'm not the type of person to play games. I put, between Todd and myself, we put all our cards on the table, and this is what we can do. And, if there's something that you can do to try to move closer to what we can do, we can see if there's something in the middle, and we're still having those conversations. We're closer to being able to agree to something we can afford than Whitman is. But again, what Hanson does is, to a considerable degree, is predicated off of what Whitman can do. It's a joint venture. And, the conversation tomorrow, I think, is going to be, really, what can we all do together? And that three-party conversation hasn't taken place. It's been us speaking with the school committee or the school department, and to the best of my knowledge, Whitman talking with the school department. And it really makes sense for us to finally sit down and figure out what we're doing.
Oh, I think when the school committee had the meeting, when they originally unveiled the budget, Frank Lyman was pretty clear that they were up against it this year.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem was at that time, there was no percentage of what the numbers were.
No, they hadn't dropped the number yet.
So that's cool. But that's good, Mike. And by the way, I should make note of, and I don't think Mike would say this, that you helped to initiate this, right? Is that correct? All right. Why is that important? Because I think it is. I think it's important that you're trying to bring the town, Whitman School District, and Hanson on the same page, what they can afford.
Yeah, as I just said,
Without getting combative, with
Yeah,
just
yeah.
working.
Cut through the politics
Yep.
and get right to the point.
it really has to be done cooperatively,
Yep.
and, I don't have any reason to believe at the end of the day it won't be done cooperatively.
What else you got?
What else do I have? That was the big thing. As you're probably aware, I don't think we've talked about it recently, but the $20,000 that was a set aside in the state budget for work or an investigation of the pond behind us, we did get the contract in. There was a proviso in the contract that I hadn't seen before that we're addressing. They want a scope of services. So I am working in cooperation with Matt as conservation agent and with the chairman of the conservation, Phil, to put together, for the $20,000, what do we realistically think we can do? Obviously, that's more their expertise than mine. Phil has put together a list that he feels is appropriate to forward to the Department of Conservation and Recreation, I believe, that oversee this particular part of the budget.
Do we have some other towns that we can go by in this too, or no?
No.
They've not submitted anything of this?
Well, not for this type of thing. If you look at the supplemental budget, yeah, there's probably about a good $500,000 of that has been parceled out to different towns, but
Yeah.
to
Not
what
for
I
this
can see, not for this
specific-
particular thing. One is for, a park and rec sort of thing, another is for, a town forest.
No,
This
you're
is
thinking
the
like
only one like
Halifax
this
or
that I
somebody
saw.
else.
Yeah, honestly, Mike, I could swear that we filled something out like this for like 3 or 4 years ago, but maybe not. Okay.
Well, I think you've been requesting it for quite some time, and the money's never come through. And, this year, we were fortunate enough to get the 20, and I do think you're correct that there has been some thought prior to, the last week or so as to what you would do with that money. And what I think Phil has put together is based on, the thought process over the last couple of years. So, but I guess the point being, I'm happy to say that we got the contract, that although there are kind of a couple of strange things that I haven't seen in these situations before, we're able to address those to, I think, the satisfaction of the agency that's giving us the money. And the money has to be expended before the end of the fiscal year, so which was kind of a curveball as well. So that gives us a month and a half or so, 2 months. But we put the wheels in motion very quickly, and I'm happy to report that I think that we're going to meet that deadline, and we're going to do some very good things with that $20,000.
Great.
Let's see.
And thanks to Josh Cutler for that too, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Let's see. To bring you up to date on the joint IT director, we had an interview with an individual last week in East Bridgewater. We're going to have an interview with 2 more individuals Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. I think by the following week, next week, I think the 2 towns will hopefully have a recommendation on how to move forward on that. I'm really looking forward to it. I know staff in both towns are really looking forward to having a dedicated person shared between the towns. So I'm hopeful that, if we see people on Thursday, we probably, you let it sink in for a couple of days, maybe get back to East Bridgewater, have a conversation with them on Monday, and maybe be able to bring something to you on Tuesday, but maybe not. But the process, at least in terms of the interviews, will be done, on Thursday.
Okay.
So we're that much closer, and the contract that we have with MX ends the end of May, so we still have a little time in terms of
good.
coverage.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
the timing should be fine. Updating you on the facilities manager, as I think I may have indicated, we have more or less, I have, and a couple of people that I've gone through the process with, we have narrowed it down to one person who actually put in as an individual, but actually owns a company, and it makes more sense for him to put in as a vendor. So I asked him, and again, if I'm repeating myself, I apologize, I asked him to come back as opposed to a resume, to put in a proposal. He just got that to me at the end of the week, and we're talking through it. I had hoped to be able to say something to you guys tonight. It'll be next Tuesday. We just
Is
got a
that
couple
going to
things.
be in compliance with like the RFP deadlines and all
Yes.
of that, to have him resubmit in this format? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
coming in
Because he had submitted in time originally, and this is just a modification.
So he's coming in as a vendor now?
Yeah, well, his company will come in as a
Oh, as a
vendor,
vendor, okay.
but he will be the person with whom we deal.
Run through,
It'll
yeah.
be one person.
Yep.
What else we got here? Just to make a public announcement, the Veterans Agent's going to be out of the office for training next week.
Speaking of which, has he got the Memorial Day parade on lockdown, or at least on his radar?
Oh, most certainly,
Okay,
yeah.
because I hadn't heard anything, so I
Oh,
just
yeah,
wanted to make
most
sure.
certainly,
Okay.
he knows that that's a priority, and he is working on it.
Okay,
I know that Bob Arsenal, before he left, gave him a lot of advice and, pointed him in a lot of right directions, the people with whom to speak and how to line all that up, so. The highway department has started street sweeping and private road grading. I believe the plan is to go from the north end of the town to the south end of the town, which I think is traditionally how they do it.
Can we just, on
Yeah.
that point, there's been a lot of dialogue, we'll call it, about the grading of the roads.
Yeah.
And I think, I think it would be great if Bob could put something maybe on the highway page or something that it lets people know that the grading and the plowing of private roads is at the discretion of the town. And so there seems to be a misunderstanding that that's something that that we're required to do for the private roads, and that is not the case. And, it's subject to the funding of the selectmen, or at the appropriation at town meeting. And I just want to make sure that that's out there, and because there seems to be kind of like a sense that people, it should be done earlier, or, why aren't they doing it on a more continuous basis? And
Yeah.
I don't think people appreciate that we have to fund that, and it comes out of the highway budget. I mean, we just voted tonight, actually, to recommend an article for town meeting for the grading. So I think it's important, and I'd like to see a way maybe for us to communicate with people about how to reach out on highway issues, because I know Jim had something that he's had a constituent come to him about. And, I just think it's important to mention that they have a great person that's answering the phone there. He's super responsive. Bob always gets back to us on things. Dave always gets back to us on things. So I think it's more of a matter of getting the message out there of how to contact people and what they do.
Well, I think, to your point, I think to a certain degree, it has to do with the fact that perhaps, highway is giving them the straight answers, and, and it's always a delicate situation. I mean, obviously, they're taxpayers. Obviously, there's a concern to make sure the roads are passable, especially in terms of emergency services. But, I think that, if you hear that maybe from the highway superintendent, or you hear that from the administrative assistant, and that's not, and I'm not trying to be cruel about this, but if that's not exactly what you wanted to hear, then it might get stepped up to a member of the board. I know I've gotten the phone calls, and, I've tried to very delicately explain, and we try to do what we can in terms of what we have for revenue, or what we have for funding, and also in consideration of technically, they're not our roads, and there are legal issues around that. So, and it happens every year. It happens in every town. Every town in which I've been, we've had private ways, and we've had those sorts of conversations about grading a road, about plowing a road, about public safety. And again, you do what you can within reason, and sometimes people would like to see more done, and it gets again into a kind of delicate situation, a delicate sort of conversation, and I don't think that that's going to go away. I think to a certain degree, you get people that move into a home on a private way and really aren't aware of the fact.
Yeah.
They may have come from Quincy or Weymouth, where there aren't really any private ways, and, well, I'm paying taxes, and how come you're not doing this for my road? Well, they're not used to that sort of dynamic, or maybe the person that sold them the house didn't clue them in, and it's difficult, and I understand the frustration to.
Anyone wants to ask?
I just,
No, I was just gonna
Sorry.
add something to you, Mike.
Yeah.
All the dirt roads in Hanson are private roads because of the fact they were constructed back in the days when they had cottages.
Yeah, they were
and they had a
seasonal.
dirt road. And the problem is that none of these roads are in the registry of deeds in Plymouth. We aren't responsible for them,
Yeah.
but Hanson is always taking care of them
Yep.
for the people because they're paying taxes,
Yep.
and I understand that. But you have to get the money from the taxpayers' money to do it.
Yep.
I don't know whether it's legal or not, but we do it.
Yep.
And that's one of the problems. These roads should be registered with the registry of deeds, a certain width, so that the town has control of them, so they can be paved by Chapter 90 money. You can't use any Chapter 90 money on a road that's not owned by the town.
Nope.
And this is one of the problems. And we have a lot of dirt roads in town.
What you find too is some of these could even be ancient ways
Yep.
that there's absolutely no records on, as opposed to, even trying to find a deed. I ran into that oddly enough, when I was in Mendon, that community, it goes back to prior to the Revolutionary War, and there were a lot of ancient ways, and there were a lot of people on those ancient ways, so I'm familiar with these sorts of conversations, and they're difficult, delicate conversations, and we do what we can, like you said, within not only our budget parameters, but in our legal parameters.
And do we have a list of private roads if people wanted to look up, if they,
Yeah.
if they did not
Yeah,
know?
Bob's got that.
Yeah.
Okay, but is there something on a website that if I could look up?
We could,
Well, I could put that up there. As a matter of fact, I just looked at the highway website. The fourth button down is private ways.
I saw
When you click
that,
on
yeah.
it, it has the bylaw, and it says limited to grading not more than 2 times
Yes,
annually.
I saw that.
So, people can get that, but, sure, we could probably get that up there as well.
with
If
that.
there's-
I think that would be helpful, because a lot of people are very conflicted. No, I'm not on a private way, I pay taxes, blah, blah, blah. But that really isn't what drives it. And they may not have noticed it on their deed, and like you said, if they're coming from a place where that isn't something they'd pay attention to, then,
I'm not positive, but I don't think Roller Coaster Road is, but
I know, I
there's a
don't
lot
believe
of
it
it's
is.
been paved.
I don't believe it is.
How and when, I don't know.
I think that whole section up
Yep.
towards the pond, I don't think any of it is accepted roads.
In Monpont,
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
it's a jungle down there.
Yeah, and, back to, I think it was Laura who mentioned it, those were all, or maybe you mentioned it, Don, those were all seasonal,
yeah, dawn to.
Homes.
homes, like you see in a lot of
The water
places.
mains are jungle down there. It's all spaghetti services. I mean, instead of having a water main go down the road, each house has got a separate service and goes from town-owned land to the home. And
Yeah.
some of these go a long ways. And
Yep.
actually, I don't think it should have been put in. I think there should have been time that they should have stopped it way back then, but nothing was done about it.
Yep, okay.
So-
Can't take it back, though.
No
That
reduce.
is pretty much what I wanted to touch upon. The only other thing I wanted to note is, the board asked me at the last public meeting to review what I deemed were my accomplishments. And I've always tried to go out of my way, and I didn't do it going through those because it really didn't dawn on me. However, I think it's very important to note that those things that I listed would not have been done, would not have been achieved without the incredible support and work of staff, department heads, staff, highway, clerical, fire, police, the whole 9 yards. If I'm
Not the
forgetting
least of which
anyone.
is Mary.
Treasury. for-
Treasurer, the whole 9 yards. And
Yeah.
I think that as I, individually updated the board at, the plethora of meetings we've had, as those things were achieved, that I gave acknowledgement to the various people that did the
I think you
yeoman's
referred
work.
to it last week, too.
Well,
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it was, I made it clear.
It's a team effort.
It
Yep.
is definitely team effort, and that great big list of things would not have been done. They were not solely done by Mike McHugh. I may have initiated some things, and asked some
finished up.
people to carry the ball, and, the 9/10 of that stuff, is done through the unwavering support of all the people that work for the town of Hanson, and that list really should have been more characterized as a list of accomplishments for what I deem the administration. So I just wanted to make that clear for the record. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. So, moving on to the next, we don't have any minutes to approve, right, Mary?
Right.
Great. The committee reports, 200th Anniversary Committee.
We have not met since the last meeting, so I have nothing to report, but we will be meeting on the 26th,
Okay.
so.
Monpont Pond Committee, Dawn.
I have not met, but I assume that we probably will after May starts, because Brockton can't take water then.
All right.
And I think they're gonna treat West Monpont Pond.
Thank you, Donnie. Final Plymouth County Hospital
And
Reuse
then
Committee.
we're having another meeting next Tuesday, I believe, with the, it's gonna be here, and then we're gonna go up to the Plymouth County Hospital to show the committee from Amherst, the
Conway?
the Conway,
Yeah.
you know, the property and what's gonna be up there.
We have a selectmen's meeting on the 17th, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, but that's tomorrow, that's at night.
That's
This
a-
is gonna
yeah.
be
This is during the day
11.
for?
11 o'clock in the
Oh,
morning.
11 in the morning.
Yeah, that's during the day.
Okay.
And you guys have a walkthrough there, right? April 22nd or something? Don't you, Don, don't you guys have a
Yeah,
walkthrough up
I
there?
think, I
Yeah.
believe there is
17th.
another one.
For
Yeah.
April State, yeah. I thought you meant for the town. That's what's important. That's good to know. I appreciate it. So, Donnie was just reminding me that April 15th is tax. And I thought he meant May 1st, which is for the town, right?
The 17th, the state tax.
So, so that's cool, Donnie. So Donnie, they're coming out with, we're coming out with plans on that, right? The final Plymouth County, we're coming out with like a, remember Mary Ann Damasco gave us like the 7 options and stuff?
They've sent a lot of the material that we've showed on television, on
Yep.
the town meetings.
Yeah.
And Mary Ann has sent that information up to them. So they've been looking at it, and they're coming down here next Tuesday at 11 o'clock.
So
Okay.
this
We're
is
gonna
what you
meet
call-
here.
yeah.
And
And they're gonna
after
do a
we
design.
meet here and discuss things, we're gonna go up and walk the area from the water tank to the right towards Pierce Avenue,
Okay.
where the
But-
hospital was.
Just so people know, Conway School is going to be working on a plan. They're gonna-
It's a
yeah.
proposed thing.
Yeah,
It's something that
Yep.
necessarily not has to be done, but
Yeah.
it might be something that we can use parts of it.
Okay. Put it in front of people to look at.
I'm not smart enough to design something like that. We're trying to get help from other places.
It's cool. McQuon School Reuse Committee. Jim?
Uh,
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
I
that's.
was like, wait a
Hanson-
minute, is that him?
The reuse and repair, forgive me.
Okay, yeah,
Laura
no, that's
Kemen.
fine, it happens all the time. So, Mike and I met, we've got a series of steps, we're gonna meet again in another couple of weeks, and then we're gonna reconvene with the committee. It's difficult to make a lot of progress with all kinds of committee members, although we want to be inclusive, there's some more foundational work that Mike and I want to do before we pull the group together again, so that's where we stand on that.
Thank you. Jim, Hanson School Repair Committee.
We have our next meeting coming up after town meeting. Quite honestly, Mr. Chairman, a lot depends on the vote.
I talked about what the last meeting you had.
I'm sorry.
I talked about the last meeting you
Yeah.
had last week when you weren't here. That-
Oh,
That
okay.
that may not continue, depends on the facility manager, all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
but we don't want to make any kind of decision on that yet.
Until after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay, so next is the Highway Building Committee.
We're trying to meet a week, I think the 16th. I'm waiting for a call back from the engineer to find out where we stand. And I emailed Dan Tanny, who's from Weston and Sampson, to see if he can be available, so we're trying to convene to see where we are and get an update on it, so.
But you're not gonna meet on the 16th, right?
I thought it was the,
No, you're not gonna meet the 16th, that's a holiday.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
That's what I put in the email. Okay, so it would have to be, yeah, that's right, Patriots Day.
Okay, if we-
So you could do it the following.
I'm excited about the fact that
What's that,
between
23rd?
Conway School and Highway, we could have some good articles on the October town
October meeting.
warrant. I mean, we could be cooking with gas with both of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patriots
I'm
Day,
hoping, 'cause the highway's just been so long.
Patriots Day, do you have that off?
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, man, what's up with that? I gotta work.
It's not a banking holiday,
Union.
that's why.
No.
Yeah,
Union.
yeah.
I gotta get in the union.
Really.
All right, so we are at the end of our meeting, and I would entertain, well, first of all, let me just be real quick, okay? I asked our town accountant to put together a town, a list maybe for the meeting of our current debt, or what we owe on buildings and stuff, so I hope to have this maybe sometime next week for all of us to look at. This is what we owe on like the police station, the high school, when it'll be paid off, and the remaining balance. So, kudos to Helen Vess, who asked me to see if we can put something together for this, so.
And that's important, that comes up every town meeting.
Yeah, it does, and
So,
Todd's doing, I
yep.
just said, keep it simple as best he can, so, more to come on that. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, meeting is adjourned. We are at, 9:53, thank you all, have a nice evening.